March 15th, 1987, 2:30 in the afternoon. That's when the lawyer read my father's will and my world cracked in half. My brother Robert got $500,000, the house, the Ford dealership, everything. I got a wooden box with 3 photographs and a letter I was too angry to read. I was 51 years old, and I felt like that 10-year-old girl again, watching Daddy ruffle Robert's hair while I stood invisible in the corner. For 37 years, I carried that anger like a stone in my chest. 37 years of telling myself I wasn't good enough, that Robert was the golden child, and I was just there, the unwanted daughter who never measured up. I moved to Oregon 2 weeks after the funeral, cut all ties with home, changed my phone number twice. When Robert tried to reach out, I hung up. When he sent letters, I burned them unopened. I built a life 2,000 miles away from that hurt, convinced I was protecting myself from more disappointment. But you know what anger does? It eats you from the inside, makes every relationship harder, makes trust feel impossible. I married a good man, Tom, but I never let him all the way in, always expecting him to choose someone else to find me lacking. We divorced after 8 years. He said I was fighting ghosts he couldn't see. He was right. I spent decades in therapy talking about daddy issues, about feeling unloved, unwanted, about how my father's rejection shaped every choice I made. My therapist said I needed to grieve not just my father, but the father I never had, the one who should have seen me, valued me, treated me as more than Robert's annoying little sister. Most people walk away when stories get this heavy. The fact that you're still listening, that means something. Last month, Robert died, lung cancer, 68 years old. His daughter Sarah called me from Dallas. Aunt Eleanor, she said, Dad talked about you every day. He's been trying to find you for decades. I almost hung up, almost added one more regret to my endless pile. But something in her voice, she sounded like Mama, like the mother we both lost when I was 7 and Robert was 12. There's something you need to see, Sarah said. Dad kept it in his desk drawer, read it every week until he couldn't see anymore. She overnighted me a package. Inside was that letter from Daddy, the one I was too proud to read 37 years ago. The envelope was soft from handling, like cloth. Robert's fingerprints were probably worn into the paper. My hands shook as I opened it. The ink had faded to brown, but every word was still clear. "Eleanor," it began, "if you're reading this, I'm gone, and knowing you, you're mad as hell about that money. You always were stubborn like your mama. Let me tell you something, little girl. I gave Robert that money because he needed it. You never needed anybody to take care of you. Even when you were small, you had this fire in you, this strength. Robert was always looking for someone to tell him what to do. You made your own decisions from the time you could walk." The letter went on for 3 pages. 3 pages of my father telling me everything I'd spent my whole life wanting to hear. How proud he was when I got my nursing degree. How he bragged to everyone at Denny's about his daughter who worked at the county hospital saving lives. How he kept every newspaper clipping when I got promoted to head nurse. "I gave Robert money," he wrote, "because money was all he understood. I gave you something better. I gave you the strength to make your own way, to never depend on anybody but yourself. That's worth more than any inheritance." There was more, about how he watched me care for Mama during her cancer. How he knew at 15 I had more guts than most grown men. About how he wanted to tell me these things, but didn't know how. Men didn't talk about feelings back then, he said. They just hoped their actions showed their love. At the bottom, in shaky handwriting. The box has 3 pictures. You and your mama baking cookies. You at nursing school graduation. I was so proud, I cried in the parking lot. And you holding your baby cousin Jimmy at the church picnic, looking like you were born to nurture people. Those are my 3 favorite pictures in the whole world. Robert got money. You got my heart. I sat in this same chair where I'm sitting now, reading those words over and over until the paper was damp with tears. 37 years of anger gone in an instant, replaced by something heavier, regret. All those years I spent hating him, he was loving me the only way he knew how. All those years I thought I wasn't good enough. I was exactly who he'd hoped I'd become. Strong, independent, capable of anything. I called Sarah back that night. "Tell me about your father," I said. "Tell me about Robert." She talked for 3 hours. About how Robert struggled with depression his whole life, how he drank too much in his 30s, how he went through 3 marriages because he couldn't figure out how to love himself, let alone anybody else, how that money from Daddy paid for rehab, how it bought him the time he needed to get clean, to figure out who he was supposed to be. He used to say you were the strong one, Sarah told me. He said Daddy knew you'd make it no matter what, but he wasn't sure about himself. Robert spent 20 years as a high school counselor after he got sober, helped hundreds of kids who were struggling, used Daddy's money to start a scholarship fund for students who couldn't afford college. Every Christmas he'd call Sarah and say, "I wonder what Eleanor's doing. I hope she's happy. I hope she knows Daddy loved her most of all. Loved me most of all. The daughter who ran away and stayed mad for nearly 4 decades." If any of this sounds familiar, subscribe. I've been carrying stories like this my whole life, and I'm not done talking. I'm 84 now. I don't have many years left, but I'm going to spend them differently than the years behind me. I drove to Dallas last week, saw Robert's grave for the first time, brought those 3 photographs from the wooden box. The one of me and Mama baking cookies was faded now, but you could still see our faces, covered in flour, laughing at something I can't remember. I knelt down in that Texas dirt and talked to my brother, told him I was sorry for being so stubborn, sorry for wasting all those years we could have known each other as adults, sorry for not reading Daddy's letter when it mattered. But mostly I thanked him for taking care of our father's money the way I would have, for using it to help people instead of just helping himself, for thinking about me all those years, even when I'd made it clear I didn't want to think about him. Sarah gave me Robert's address book. In it, written in his careful script, were 17 different addresses and phone numbers for me. 17 attempts over 37 years to reach out, to bridge the gap I'd built with my pride and hurt. Some of the numbers were disconnected. Some of the addresses were old apartments I'd lived in for 6 months at a time, running from ghosts. But he kept trying. He never gave up on me, even when I'd given up on him. I understand now what Daddy was trying to teach me. It wasn't about the money. It never was. It was about knowing who you are and being strong enough to become that person, no matter what the world throws at you. Robert needed the safety net. I needed to learn I could fly without one. We were both right. We were both loved. We just couldn't see it from where we were standing. Last night I called Sarah again. "Would you like to visit Oregon?" I asked. "I'd like to show you where your aunt lives now. I'd like to tell you stories about your daddy when he was young, the ones only a sister would know. She's coming next month, bringing her 2 boys, My great-nephews I've never met, boys who look like Robert in the pictures Sarah sent, boys who carry his smile and maybe a little of Daddy's stubborn streak. I'm going to tell them about their grandfather they never knew, about the man who taught his daughter strength by giving her the space to find it herself, about how love sometimes looks like leaving you alone to figure out who you're supposed to be. The wooden box sits on my kitchen table now. Next to it, Robert's last letter to me, the one he never got to send. It just says, "Eleanor, I miss you. I always missed you. Love, your brother." I'm 84 years old, and I finally understand why my father left me nothing. He didn't leave me nothing. He left me everything that mattered. The knowledge that I was strong enough to make my own way. The confidence to trust my own judgment. The fire that kept me going when life got hard. Robert got money. I got the better gift. I got to discover who I really was without anyone else's expectations weighing me down, without anyone else's wealth making my choices easier. I earned every success, every failure, every lesson the hard way, and that made them mine in a way nothing inherited could ever be. If I could tell my 51-year-old self anything, it would be this: read the letter, call your brother. Don't let pride cost you 37 years of love. Don't confuse being strong with being alone. Strength isn't about never needing anybody. It's about choosing who you let close enough to matter. I spent most of my life thinking I was unloved. Turns out I was loved so much that my father was willing to let me hate him rather than make me weak. That's a kind of love I'm only now old enough to understand. The kind that trusts you enough to let you find your own way home.